Let's see. Okay, and we are live. So welcome everyone joining us live on, I reckon, his very first one, LinkedIn Live today. So this is really exciting. So our topic today is personalization at scale. So a really hot topic right now. And what we'll be covering is this topic from a couple of different angles. We'll be talking about how big hotels can truly achieve personalization at a big scale, why tech alone maybe isn't the answer to all of this, and how culture and leadership also play its part in all of personalization. And then we'll finish off with some actionable advice for hoteliers on how to really start implementing personalization, how to really achieve it and make it a reality for their guests. And anyone joining us live, if you do have any questions at any point, then just please pop them in a chat and we'll, of course, answer them. And I'd love to introduce our guests for today. So we've got two expert guests, Jamie Cole and Donald Bowman. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Donald, why don't we go?
Yeah, please. Can you just quickly introduce yourself and give us a bit of a background on your experiences with personalization?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Donald Bowman. I have my own business nowadays, DBC, very cleverly named, Donald Bowman Consulting. You can't forget it. What I actually do, though, is I'm a service culture architect and coach. Sounds intriguing. But essentially, what I do, I help companies deliver world-class guest or client experiences by transforming their cultures to create a culture where service and service excellence can thrive. My background is in luxury and lifestyle hotel management. I've spent 30 years of my career running, braggadocious moment, some of the world's best hotels. And as I moved away from day-to-day operations and started my business, I've been able to take the learnings from running some of those incredible luxury properties and create a program I guide companies through that helps that transformation process come alive. And I get to do that now with all manner of companies in all manner of businesses in the service industry. And I think that's probably what's led me to the call today.
Great. Thank you, Donald. And what about you, Jamie?
Oh, well, hi, everybody. This is my first LinkedIn Live as well, so excited to be here, and great to be here with Amelia and my old friend Donald. I've also spent many years in the hotel and travel industry, and I've worked always focused around customer experience, whether that be in a digital environment, whether it be in a physical environment, or whether it be through contact centers as well, which has been another area for me. And I've done that both in leadership roles in some of the world's largest hotel chains, and also in luxury groups, but then also in an advisory capacity now. So it's a passion for me, and so excited to be joining the conversation today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. You both really have a lot of experience in this area, so you'll be great experts.
And a little bit of crossover in our histories as well. We worked together at Mandarin Oriental, and we worked together on a service culture project. So we'll see if that comes up in the conversation today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, great. Okay, so let's dive into our topic. So yeah, we're talking about personalization at a big scale, which is definitely a hot topic right now. We hear it everywhere and it's really talked about a lot. And the main goal is obviously for the guests to feel recognized and valued, make them feel special. But then especially now we're talking about a large scale hotels with a lot of properties within the brand, so many staff members. I can imagine it can't be easy to achieve. So I'd love to hear, Donald, from your experiences, what it's been like implementing personalization at a huge scale.
Yeah, it's interesting. Earlier in my career, I spent 20 years with Mandarin Oriental Hotel Group. And generally, luxury hotels tend to be a little bit smaller, a bit more boutique in size, 150 to 200 rooms. But I recall vividly opening a Mandarin Oriental here in Las Vegas, where I'm based. And that was a 400-room property, which to me and many of us seemed gargantuan. But of course, it seemed like a small department of another large casino in the same city. But for us, we had to get our minds around, how do we deliver that ultra personalized experience that a guest would expect in another Mandarin Oriental hotel without missing a beat? And it was a major challenge for us. And perhaps we were inspired because we were in Vegas, where everything is bigger, and still service experiences can be fantastic. But we set out to prove that we could do it, and we could do it perhaps even better than some of the others. And that's actually a place that I learned a lot of the lessons about how you can do that. And a lot of it starts, I think, from the word go, creating pride in the work that you're doing for guests, the service that you want to deliver. And with that pride, people try harder, they push further. They really commit themselves to their task in hand, which is still delivering that personalized experience. And you think about a doorman who comes to work in the morning, who is going to see hundreds of people pass through his or her hotel doors. But to use their name every time they walk through, that's incredible. And it takes immense effort. Now, we can use technology to help that. But what it boiled down to was them really making that personal commitment, reading an arrivals list, memorizing the names, looking at photos if we had them, and just putting all those names in the front of their memory so that they might have an immediate moment of recall. And that's a commitment. That's a commitment that was driven by pride and a desire to be the best. And then they would share that with others. They might have ways to give signals to Ballet or Bowman. We used radios to radio names up to the front desk so that the front desk would recognize the gentleman in the blue shirt and welcome Mr. Bowman. And it would just be extraordinary. But what I've learned now since then, applying those learnings to businesses small and large in the consulting work that I do. Some of my businesses have been small 15-person, family-owned property management companies, and they do a good job of personalization, but we built this pride that pushed them to do even more, up to and including central reservations and customer care center with thousands of team members across the globe, to integrated resorts here in Las Vegas with 5,000, 6,000, 8,000 team members, and how we could apply those same simple methods of building pride, getting senior level engagement, and creating a single shared message that would drive everyone in the same direction. And I've seen that it can be done with real push, with real drive, and of course, with all the help that technology can give us now.
That is fascinating. So even though it's not an easy task, it is possible even at a big scale.
Absolutely right, yes.
Yeah. Jamie, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, Donald set such a high bar. It's difficult to follow that. But I think the other lens I would apply to this is, when you're talking about scale, it's thinking also about the number of customers. And this is where there's very different dynamics, and irrespective of the industry that you're in, if you've got a relatively small number of customers in the hundreds, that's one challenge. But if you've got thousands or tens of thousands or millions of customers, then that presents an entirely different challenge. And if you think about it from the customer point of view in terms of what does personalization mean to me, well, actually, it can be really small things. And the topic that, when I was thinking about this subject, the phrase that came to mind was brilliant basics. And actually, personalization starts with really small things. And if you want to apply that feeling of I've had a personal experience to thousands of people, then actually you need to keep it really quite simple. And that could be as simple as using your name. And so I think that, and the other benefit of that is that the nature of dealing with very large customer audiences is that you tend to then have large teams of colleagues or staff doing that. And equally, those people need to be able to remember something simple, catchy, straightforward. And so again, I come back to brilliant basics, because it's something that those people that are customer facing can easily grasp, they can remember.
I
Yeah,
think that's
true.
spot on. If I may, I love this basics thing. We talk about that a lot. Let's focus on service behavior basics, using names, learning a little bit about the guest, and explaining how you're going to use that knowledge for them, things like that. And if you do that at scale, something incredible happens, because at scale, a guest or a client or your customer is probably not expecting it.
Yeah.
And if you start achieving it, and it happens consistently over multiple times during their guest experience, they are pleasantly unexpected days. They have this experience that's like, wow, I didn't expect them to know my name. How did they know I need 2 boxes of Kleenex, one on either side of the bed? All these things start to shock them. And they're always adding it up subconsciously in the back of their head. And it leaves an even more powerful impression if you can achieve this consistency with the basics at scale. It's a great point, Jamie.
That is a really good point. And there, what you just touched on there about the culture and implementing that pride in your staff, that they want to keep doing these little things. How do you then, especially at a big scale, how do you implement this culture of service?
Gosh, well, now we only have 30 minutes. I could go for 4 hours, 30 minutes. But there's a number of key things that you can do. To build pride, I think a key thing I do with clients is say, what is your service-related holy grail, your ultimate, your big, hairy, audacious goal, as I like to call it? And to take the Mandarin Oriental Las Vegas as a great example, pre-opening, 18 months, 2 years before we opened, we set ourselves this goal that we wanted to be recognized by Forbes Travel Guide as a 5-star property. And that was a big goal. But it wasn't big, hairy, and audacious. We said we want something bigger. So, okay, we would like to be 555-star rated. Many of you on the call might not even know that you could be a 555-star hotel. But that means your hotel, your spa, and your fine dining restaurant, in our case, were all rated by Forbes at the 5-star level. And we thought, that's big and hairy. What's next? Let's do it in our first year. That's a big, hairy, audacious goal. Most people wouldn't dream of doing it. So you're already going to be ahead of them. If you don't get there, you're still going to be further ahead than you would have been. But the key is that from word go, everybody was shooting for the moon in the same direction. Everyone was rowing in the same direction. Everyone was driven to get to that goal. Everyone then started uniting around that goal. And so it helped create the second thing that I think is important, where you create an environment where people love to work together. And it's consistent through the organization. The general manager and the housekeeper and the steward and the massage therapist are all driven, and they want to be part of that team that achieves it. And that mentality then starts to drive the doorman who's studying the arrivals list, the housekeeper who's desperately looking for little preferences or clues around the room and how we can do something with it, and how we work together to use that information to create these personalized experiences. And the third thing that we very often do is create a very simple mantra around it. We can have mission statements and vision statements and values, and they can be in posters on the wall gathering dust that everyone forgets. But if you have a mantra that becomes the language of that business, it becomes how you speak, it becomes a daily reminder of your commitment to this, that can be very powerful in reminding on a day-to-day everybody in that building what I can be doing to create that experience and get us to that ultimate level. All those 3 or 4 things can be major drivers of creating this environment.
That is really interesting. I can imagine, because even though they're kind of small things, they are things that everyone would do consistently every single day. So that just makes them even more powerful. And then you start achieving that goal and get closer to it.
Yeah. And Donald, you talked there quite a lot about, how do you embed a culture in the people that are delivering the service? The other thing that I think is fascinating is, well, how does that translate into what the customer, the guest feels, sees? What's the reality of their experience? And again, I think some of these things play through. So there's a direct correlation between the passion, the engagement, the empowerment of people that are delivering service, and then how that is received. And to give small examples of this, we all have experiences of calling a contact center, and probably in this day and age have relatively low expectations that our service expectations are going to be met. And one of the really tiny things that makes an enormous difference is if the person on the end of the phone, or actually behind the desk, starts with the conversation and says, listens to your problem and then says, I can help you with that, or I'll help you solve that problem. And it immediately takes the stress and the pressure out of that interaction, saying, okay, this person is going to take it on themselves and help me. And this is it's a very small signal that we're giving to a customer, but it's actually a really powerful one. But in order to deliver that, coming back to your side, if you like, on the colleague part, you've got to empower people. And so if someone on the end of the phone serving a customer is going to say, I can help you with that, they have to believe that they can, and they have to have the tools and the autonomy to be able to do that. And so I think it's both sides of the equation, building trust, and other ways of building trust are restating the customer's name, restating their problem back to them. It's part of personalization. It's basically playing back, this is what I heard. And these are small techniques and tools, but actually and they help the customer very much, but require people with skills like yours to be able to empower the teams that are delivering the service to do it.
Oh my gosh, empowerment. It comes up with every single client who might think their team are empowered, but generally they're not. They're scared to do something off script. Reinforcing the message that you truly are empowered. You won't be in trouble if you do something off script. You'll be celebrated. It's quite the opposite. Mm-hmm. The other part of that, and I love what you said, Jamie, is just always start with yes. Never use the word no. There's more and more allergies that we have to deal with in the world now, and peanut allergies and all that. There's one thing that every guest, client, customer, member, patient is allergic to, and it's the word no. You hear the word no, your heckles go up, you go into fight mode. Even if the answer is no, you can restate your answer starting with the word yes. It can be very, very powerful. Yes, I can help you with that. No, we can't do that. But what we can do is this. It's an incredibly powerful part of the mental game as well of personalizing experience.
Yeah. And actually, as part of that, we just got a question. What was the mantra that you used, Donald?
Oh, gosh. Now you're testing my memory. Well, with mantra example, I won't give you the full thing, but the language we all spoke, the common language was, our mission was to completely delight and satisfy our guests.
Yeah. And can I build on, because I remember another one that I think it was a project maybe we worked on together, but really a really simple one, which was never have the customer make their request twice. So they only have to say it once, never get passed on to the next department, have to repeat it again or ask again. So I think these things, building you can call it a mission statement, a service mission, or a service promise, but those are the things that if you can get something simple, then that's really powerful.
And I've had so many different clients, and I always think I know the answer. I know what your service culture statement would be, but they always come up with something better and something thoughtful and relevant to their business. A dental practice that I worked with, theirs was "We Design Smiles."
Wow, that's a great mantra.
And part of it was an acronym reminding us of 7 key service basics that were important to them and their patients. A golf and country club was "Be a Pro." Now, you didn't have to have a 1 handicap to be a pro. Will, the bartender, could come to work and remember, I am going to be a pro bartender today. I'm going to be the best bartender there is in the world. I'm going to be a pro. And that was also an acronym that allowed us to train on the service basics that were important to members. So I think creating that mantra is important because it helps everyone speak the same language. And that is doing personalization at scale because everyone is talking the same language, they're driven in the same way, and they're all living the same service behavior rules.
Yeah, that is really powerful. Actually, another question we just got, how do you then promote team spirit in a business where there is a high staff turnover, which I can imagine can be a case in some big hotels, for example?
Yeah, hospitality turnover, 25%. Quite common, sometimes higher if it's a really awful place to work, sometimes lower if it's great. The sort of sarcastic answer is, well, stop them leaving. And that is, of course, the base of the work that I do in changing a culture. We create a culture where people love to work together, where they're proud of the place that they're working, where they feel support from their leadership, who trust them and leave full empowerment in their hands. And that does reduce turnover because people love it. What's interesting, it increases the turnover of the ones that don't fit that culture. So start to self-select out, and we're okay with that turnover. But promoting a team spirit specifically in a business where there is high staff turnover, it's got to start with the leaders and with a sense of positivity and hope that says, okay, you might think this is not great and you might want to leave. But we've got this bigger mission and we can do it. And I see a vision of how to do it. And there's another piece to it. If you naturally have high staff turnover, maybe, your pool staff turnover every season, they're always new. Or you have younger employees that are moving on or going to school, and naturally, you then have to be very rigorous and thorough and have a cycle of training and retraining and creating a sense of continual alignment where you're reinforcing that service culture constantly throughout a work day, throughout a work week, throughout the month, throughout the year, and repeat. So that even the new team members are getting that enthusiasm. Even those new team members are having it made very clear to them what the expectations are so that they can also live up to them. There's lots of ways to answer that question. It's a great question because it's very real, particularly in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, and just to layer onto that as well, in a call center environment, turnover can be 5% per month is not unusual, and so it's just a fact of life. It's the nature of the industry. But I think I come back to some of the keeping having good simple themes that people can latch onto. Some of the same things that Donald talked about there in terms of training and giving people motivating people as best you can, and also giving them progression paths. And actually, in one of the roles I had leading, a large scale operation where we had actually surprisingly good tenure amongst, contact center agents, because there was a, great leadership in those centers and that built fantastic culture amongst the people that were there. And so I think it's even in a scaled environment with with thousands of people, it's still possible to do that and manage the turnover that you inevitably get.
Yeah, and all of this really just highlights how important the culture and the people are in these scenarios. So I'd love to next talk about the technology side of all of this. So maybe Donald, if you could share your experiences, how do you then utilize technology in this personalization at scale, but without losing the human touch and that magic?
It's really an exciting time because there are so many ways that or technology platforms and tools that we can use and harness. I think it goes back to what Jamie said earlier, service basics. You can still train human beings how to better interact with human beings naturally and appropriately, how to use their name without being robotic, how to refer to things you've learned about them and you might remember about them, how to anticipate their needs. But then you use the technology to augment that. You use the technology to make it even easier to do that. Years ago, when we were opening that Mandarin Oriental, we might have been using walkie-talkies and earpieces to pass names from one department to another. We might have been using hot sauce to put a ticket in to a bellman, and in that ticket, it had the guest's name, it had that they're leaving to collect their luggage, and it also said, we've already asked if they need transportation. Don't ask again. So we could use technology in these ways to better personalize that experience. And more now that is happening. And I think back to contact centers. Jamie and I worked on a project in a contact center where when I first learned about it, those agents, I don't know how they ever even said hello on the phone. They had 7 screens open that they needed to complete a reservation or to handle a call. Now imagine technology puts them all on one screen and consolidates it all and shares the information that agent needs at the time to recognize something that we know about them, to recall a preference, to look at specific requests, or in fact just to simply remember to use their name. That's how you augment it, and that allows that training to provide natural, personalized experiences to really be utilized. Because now you're not being stretched mentally in so many different ways.
Yeah, it's such a key. Sorry, go on.
No, so that's the technology. It kind of enables the humans to give even better personalized service then.
That's absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, just thinking about this topic for me, however good the technology is, technology doesn't deliver personalized experiences to customers and guests. It's humans that deliver that, but technology helps in a very, very significant way. And I think in the last 2 years with AI and large language models, we've seen that come on in leaps and bounds to make it much, much easier to use and integrate. And so, but the key point is that technology is the helper, it's the enabler rather than the doer. I still think there's an enormous amount of frustration with too much automation by customers, and I think there's a role for it, but actually there's still an enormously important role for human to human interaction
that avoids becoming robotic.
Yeah.
If it was just AI answering, it might say, we remembered you want a room far from the elevator, as opposed to someone that genuinely cares about, oh my gosh, yes, don't worry, we have found your room that's really quiet, way away from the elevators and any other noise. It's a very different experience. But the technology helps you get there, and it helps, it gives you more bandwidth to deliver that to our guests.
Yeah, that is a really good point. So before we sign off, we've got a couple more minutes left. So I would love for both of you to share your one best piece of advice that hoteliers can take away if they do want to maybe start implementing, or if they're looking how to really achieve personalization at scale. Donna, maybe could you go first?
Just one.
Just one.
Don't give up. You've got to believe you can achieve personalization at scale. A lot of people won't bother because they don't think they can do it. You have to believe you can do it and beyond that. And that is going to get you way further than you will ever have got before. It takes hard work and effort to deliver excellence. And if you persevere and you create an environment where people are driven to do it, you can do it. I've talked about all sorts of ways you can do it and things you should focus on, but you've just got to believe you can do it because it can be done.
Very good. Well, interesting. So I would build on that and say that, to start off with, start small and focus. Think about moments of truth. Don't try and eat the elephant and do everything. Focus on some small areas that have the highest impact, and then build on that from there. But that would be the sort of biggest learn from my side, is start small and grow from there.
Those are some really, really great advice. So thank you for both joining us today and for sharing all of your insights and stories. This has been really interesting.
You're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Amelia, for guiding us through, and good to see you again, Donald.
Likewise.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So.
Bye.